Here's a challenge, a real test of budgeting and resourcefulness. Can you actually live, truly survive, and navigate daily life on just $100 for an entire week in Canada? It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? With prices rising seemingly everywhere you look and the cost of living constantly increasing, I wanted to find out firsthand if it's even remotely possible to make ends meet on such a limited budget. Could it be done without sacrificing basic needs? To make it a fair and realistic test, I set some very strict rules: absolutely no outside help from friends or family, no using anything I already owned, no relying on pre-existing resources, and absolutely no freebies or handouts of any kind. My single $100 bill had to cover absolutely everything I needed. All groceries, all transportation costs, phone data to stay connected, and any other essential everyday necessities that might come up. Just think about your average week for a moment. That daily coffee, the bus fare to get to work, even basic necessities like toilet paper. All had to come from this incredibly tiny budget. Most people realistically spend anywhere from $300 to even $400 a week or more just to live a reasonably comfortable life in a Canadian city. And here I was, about to try and make it work on just a quarter of that amount. No secret snacks stashed away, absolutely no cheating or bending the rules. Just me, my limited wallet, and a whole lot of willpower to get through the week. I really wanted to see if this kind of extreme budgeting was actually sustainable in the long run, or if it was simply a recipe for financial disaster and constant stress. The ultimate goal was to truly feel the reality of living on such a tight budget, not just theoretically talk about it. I was starting completely from zero, almost as if I'd literally just arrived in the city as a newcomer, with only that single $100 bill to my name. I fully expected to experience hunger, moments of boredom, and a whole lot of meticulous penny counting to make every dollar stretch as far as possible. This was definitely going to be an adventure, a real test of my limits, and quite possibly a harsh wake-up call about the true cost of living. So let's dive in and see exactly how it all went down. With my $100, I needed a plan. Every dollar had to count. Groceries were the top priority, $45. Transportation, $20 for bus fare. Phone data, $15 for the bare minimum. That left $20 for emergencies. Laundry, toilet paper, anything unexpected. No meat, no fancy cheese, no snacks, just basics. Every bus ride had to be essential, and my phone data was strictly rationed. No lattes, no Ubers, no little luxuries. This wasn't just budgeting, it was survival mode. The difference between wants and needs became brutally clear. Coffee, want. Bag of lentils, need. I folded up my plan, took a deep breath, and headed for the grocery store. This challenge was already changing how I saw my spending. Could I make it work? Time to find out. Let's go shopping. I hit the discount grocery store, the kind of place where you really have to hunt for the best deals. It was time to put my budget to the test. I was armed with my $45, every single dollar accounted for, and a very strict list. This wasn't a casual shopping trip, this was a mission. No berries, those were way out of budget. And definitely no cheese displays, no fancy cheeses today. Just essentials, the bare minimum to survive the week. Pasta, rice, beans, oats. My cart was beige, a sea of blandness. Oats for breakfast every single morning, lentils and rice for dinner, a recurring theme, bread and peanut butter for lunch, day in and day out. For nutrition, I grabbed frozen veggies, the cheapest I could find, and bananas. A little bit of sweetness and potassium. Eggs and a small block of cheap cheese were my luxuries. A little extra protein to break up the monotony. Every item was a calculated choice, each purchase carefully considered. No oil, no spices, no coffee, just tap water. The most basic of necessities. I skipped tomato sauce to save $1.50. Sacrifices had to be made. At checkout, my total was $41.50. Under budget, a small victory. I had $3.50 left for the week. That was it. I walked out feeling both triumphant and anxious. Could I really do this? I had food for the week, but it was going to be repetitive and bland. Very, very bland. The real challenge was about to begin, the mental game. Could I actually eat this for 7 days without losing my mind? Every small thing we take for granted, gone. The little joys in food, completely absent. This was survival, not comfort. Pure sustenance. I was ready, but nervous. The week ahead loomed. Let's see how the week played out. It was going to be a long one. Hunger, here I come. And boredom, I suspect. Day 1. The beginning of my week-long experiment with a severely restricted food budget. I was curious, a little apprehensive, but mostly determined to see what I could learn. Plain oatmeal for breakfast, a truly minimalist start to the day. No fruit, no sweeteners, just oats and water. Peanut butter sandwich for lunch, another simple staple. I tried to savor each bite, knowing that culinary excitement would be scarce this week. Rice and lentils for dinner, a complete protein, yes, but also completely devoid of joy. It was filling, providing the necessary calories, but painfully bland. Each mouthful felt like a chore. By day 3, the routine was soul-crushing. The monotony of the meals was starting to take its toll. Oats, bread, rice, repeat. The culinary Groundhog Day. I scrambled an egg into my dinner for variety, a small act of rebellion against the blandness. It felt like a feast. A single egg elevated the entire meal. Food boredom set in fast, much faster than I anticipated. And my energy dropped. I felt sluggish and unmotivated. I declined a coffee invite, a social sacrifice for the sake of the budget. $5 for a latte was out of the question. Every penny counted. Social life took a hit. It's hard to connect with people when you can't even afford a coffee. I felt isolated, like I was living on a different planet from everyone else. Adding frozen veggies to my rice was a highlight. A splash of color in a monochrome world. Tiny pops of color, huge morale boost. It was amazing how much a few vegetables could lift my spirits. By the last day, the end was in sight, but I was definitely feeling the strain. I'd stretched my groceries to the limit, scraping the bottom of every jar and bag. I was proud of my resourcefulness, but also exhausted and irritable from the lack of proper nutrition. Surviving on this food was possible, it kept me alive, but it wasn't living. It was merely existing, a pale imitation of a fulfilling life. The lack of variety and nutrients wore me down, both physically and mentally. I finished my last meal, the same rice and lentils I started with, feeling both accomplished for completing the challenge and utterly depleted from the experience. There's a big difference between surviving and thriving, between simply meeting your basic needs and truly flourishing. This week made that painfully clear, highlighting the importance of not just food, but good food. Would I do it again? Would I willingly subject myself to that level of deprivation? Not by choice. Never again unless absolutely necessary. My $20 transit budget bought me just 6 bus rides for the week. Every trip had to be essential. No spontaneous outings, no social visits. 2 rides went to grocery shopping, 4 left for work or emergencies. I walked everywhere else. 45 minutes each way to work, rain or shine. Social events, out of reach. I missed after-work drinks because I couldn't spare the fare. My world shrank to what I could walk. By week's end, I had 1 bus ride left. Tiny victory, but I was exhausted. Saving money cost me time, energy, and connection. Transportation isn't just about getting around. It's about feeling part of your city. On a tight budget, that freedom disappears fast. Unexpected expenses hit hard. Laundry cost $5, gone from my emergency fund. Ran out of toilet paper, another $4. No money for dish soap. I washed dishes with hot water. Internet was a dilemma. My data was limited, but I needed Wi-Fi for work. Essentials you take for granted suddenly become tough choices. By week's end, my emergency fund was nearly gone. Even the best planning can't cover every little cost. Did I survive on $100? Yes. Was it realistic? Not at all. I was hungry, tired, and stressed, constantly counting pennies. This wasn't living, it was deprivation. The mental toll was huge, and my social life vanished. For newcomers or anyone struggling, this budget is impossible long-term. The experiment showed me the gap between surviving and living. You need more than $100 a week to thrive in Canada. This week taught me the value of money, privilege, and security. Next, I'll explore affordable places in Canada where your budget can go further. Stay tuned for that journey.